From a very young age, I understood that life places before us spaces where we must show who we truly are, not through words alone, but through actions that echo beyond the present moment. When we speak of duty and service, we are not merely speaking of obligations or expectations. We are speaking of something much deeper, something that begins in quiet moments of awareness and blooms into acts that shape the lives of others. There are those who believe that duty is a weight, a burden that one carries because one must. But I have come to learn, and continue to learn each day, that duty, when embraced with honor, with clarity, and with respect, transforms into something infinitely more meaningful. It becomes a form of love, a love for one's land, a love for one's people, a love for the idea that one's hands and one's heart are always called to build, to listen, to care. The call to serve is not loud, it does not shout at you or demand attention in the obviousness of grand gestures. No, it comes in whispers. It calls you to be attentive, to notice where comfort ends and responsibility begins. It invites you to step into moments where actions matter more than appearances, where every choice becomes a seed planted for a future you may never fully see. Service is not found in applause. It is found in the quiet courage of doing what is right when no one is watching. It is found in those who choose to put others first, those who set aside momentary ease to bring long, lasting good. When I look at my own path, at what has been prepared for me, and also what I must prepare myself for, I see a journey interwoven with that very truth. That to serve is not simply an honor, it is a calling, one that asks for sacrifice, yes, but one that gives back something greater than what is given. Duty begins within. Before you can honor others, you must honor what lies inside you, your conscience, your integrity, your values. When we understand why we choose to serve, service becomes a reflection of identity, not a task to be fulfilled. It becomes an expression of thankfulness for opportunities we did not earn, for blessings we did not request, and a way to give back what we ourselves have received. To carry duty not as a demand, but as a gift, is the first step in becoming truly free in how we serve. And then, duty extends outward from oneself to community, from community to nation, and, in our world today, sometimes even further. It requires listening to those whose voices are quiet, whose stories are hidden, whose courage goes unseen. It asks us to learn from differences, to build bonds that stand even when tested by time or adversity. Service calls us to humble ourselves, to understand that no person leads alone, succeeds alone, or heals alone. We are all part of something larger, and that is where service finds its truest meaning. In my own life, I have often thought about those who came before me, those whose names may not be written in history books, but whose acts of duty and service shaped families, villages, cities, and entire generations. Some were mothers and teachers, some were farmers and nurses, some were simply neighbors who offered what little they had without expecting recognition. Their stories live in silence, but their legacy sings in everything we now enjoy. It is they who showed us that serving does not require titles, only honesty, effort, and a willing heart. To serve is to step forward even when you doubt, even when you are unsure if you are enough. It is to understand that what matters is not perfection, but intention. Each action taken out of duty, out of care, lights a path for someone else, and soon that path becomes a road others will walk long after we are gone. When we choose service, we say yes not just to what is, but to what can be, to the future itself. And that future depends on how willing we are to not just live for ourselves, but to deeply understand the needs that lie beyond us. Whether those needs are found in education, in justice, in compassion for the displaced, or simply in the act of listening, we must be ready. Ready to learn, ready to change, ready to build. Service remains meaningful not because it is required, but because it is shared. When one hand offers help and another receives it with gratitude, a circle is formed. That circle of kindness, of dignity, of mutual respect holds the power to make the world gentler, more just, and more united. And within that circle, duty becomes not a command, but a promise to carry the weight of the present while lifting the hope of the future. Each of us has a voice, and each voice, when carried with sincerity, has the power to uplift others. That is why duty and service are not reserved for the chosen few. They belong to all of us. Whether you lead from an office, a classroom, or a home, the essence is the same: to give a part of yourself in making life better for another. In the end, service is the clearest form of leadership, not through force, but through example. To serve is to give strength to the fragile, uncertain, dignity to those who have lost it. It is to say, through action and not just speech, you matter and I am here, and though the path of duty is often quiet and humble, its impact is limitless. It builds trust, it restores faith, it brings hearts together, and in the end it leaves a mark not just on history, but on humanity. So as I continue to learn and grow and prepare, I carry with me this enduring truth, that the greatest privilege is not to be served, but to serve, and that the truest legacy is not in what we have, but in what we have given. May we all find, in our own time and place, the call to duty, and respond with the courage to serve. Hope is one of those rare things that can exist in the quietest of moments, and yet have the power to transform entire lives. It blooms even in uncertainty, it grows even where there is doubt. And it reminds us, in the most unexpected ways, that the future is not something we inherit passively, it is something we create. Every day, with every action, with every dream we dare to believe in. And so, when I think of the future, I think of the hope that breathes within it, the kind that doesn't fade when shadows fall, but stands taller as the light it reflects grows nearer. For many, the future is something distant, mysterious, untouchable. But to me, the future is not a place we are waiting to arrive at. It is a road we are building step by step, with the choices we make, the values we hold, and the courage we find. We are all custodians of that future, not just for ourselves, but for one another, and the strength of the future we inherit depends greatly on the hope we pour into it today. Hope is a small flame in the beginning. It sparkles gently, just enough for us to notice, but like all things worth nurturing, it requires attention. It grows the more we fuel it, with effort, vision, resilience, and most importantly, unity. And so, hope is not just a feeling. It is the quiet determination to mold possibility into reality. I am often inspired by young people. Their innate sense of justice, their fearless conviction, their belief that the world must be better than it was yesterday. That is the kind of hope that rebuilds what was broken. It reminds me that the future does not belong to the ones who merely wish. It belongs to those who work, who dream, who refuse to accept that something is impossible simply because it hasn't been done yet. In every era, faces change, challenges change, but humanity's longing remains the same, the longing for peace, for fairness, for meaning. Hope is the link between what we long for and what we work toward. It whispers to us that giving up should never be our first option, that deep within every difficulty lies the seed of something beautiful, waiting for time, effort, and care. And the future is not an abstract idea. It is the child who learns to read today, the refugee who finds safety at last, the scientist who discovers a new cure, the artist who restores beauty to brokenness, the person who stands up and says, "I will not let darkness win here." All of these people are not only living a moment, they are shaping tomorrow. For those of us who are growing into roles of responsibility, who inherit traditions but also the chance to inspire change, there can be a tension between what was and what will be. But it is that very tension that offers us possibility, a moment to honor what has been handed to us while opening doors to new ideas, new voices, new hopes. Tradition should not be a wall that confines, but a bridge that connects the lessons of the past with the promise of the future. Each generation is called in its own way. Some are shaped by wars, others by revolutions, or by inventions that redefine the world. And today, we are shaped by a crossroads of technology and humanity, of sustainability and urgency, of identity and coexistence. The decisions we make now are touched by this reality. That is why hope must not be a passive acquaintance, it must be an active ally. And that requires not simply waiting for better days, but engaging with every part of what makes us human, our bravery, our cooperation, our imagination. To those who doubt maybe, or wonder if their hope is enough, I want to say this. Your hope is not small. Your dream is not too tiny to matter. The greatest changes in history were not led by perfect people. They were led by passionate people. People who believed that every act of kindness, every stand for justice, every word spoken for dignity, that each of these matters. And they do, even if the result is not visible right away, even if the applause never comes, because hope is not a currency of reward, it is a gift of meaning. And the future is woven with now. Let us imagine a world where no child goes to bed hungry, a world where countries extend hands before borders, a world where we lift each other instead of competing over who reaches higher. That world will not arrive because someone else dreamed it. It will exist because we placed hope into motion, because we said, I might not fix everything, but I can do something, and that something matters. A hope asks us to see beyond ourselves, not to forget our own path, but to honor that our path is connected to millions of others. And when we act with that awareness, the future becomes richer, more equal, more compassionate. There are days when hesitation grows, when uncertainty takes hold. I feel that too, because beneath every voice that urges action, there is a human heart that knows vulnerability. But it is in that vulnerability that we find our truth. Hope does not mean we never feel afraid. It means we decide that something beyond fear is worth pursuing. It means we recognize that the future is shaped not by those who knew everything, but by those who dared to try. And trying is the most courageous act of hope, so let us choose hope again and again, in the questions we ask, in the efforts we make, in the bridges we build. Let us refuse to surrender to indifference. Let us not settle for what is easier, but strive for what is worth it. The future is waiting not for someone stronger, or wiser, or better. It is waiting for us, for you, for me, for the collective determination of hearts who still believe that light surpasses shadow, that progress is possible, that humanity has more to offer than destruction. And hope is the instrument that turns all of that into song. Let us listen to that melody. Let us add our voice. Let us build the kind of future that gives hope not only to us, but to those who will carry our names, and may not know our faces, but will benefit from our belief. With hope, we do not just walk forward, we light the way. There is a certain strength in knowing who you are, not just as a person, but as part of something bigger woven into the fabric of a family, a people, a shared story. Identity grounds us, it steadies our steps, it gives us a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, even when the world shifts around us. And yet, what makes identity powerful is not its borders, but its bridges, the way it connects one life to another, the way it builds unity rather than division. In a world as vast and varied as ours, unity is not the absence of difference. It is the harmony that rises out of respect for those differences. It is addressing what unites us, our desires, our dreams, our struggles, while recognizing the beauty of diversity. This unity is not fragile, it is resilient. It grows stronger the more voices it welcomes, the more stories it holds. When I speak of identity, I speak of layers where we come from, what we believe, what we hope for. There is identity in our language, in our traditions, in our memories. But identity reaches beyond place or blood. It is shaped by what we contribute, how we treat others, what we choose to stand for. And when we are clear in our identity, we have the courage and clarity to connect with others, to say, "This is who I am, and I welcome who you are." This sense of belonging is not merely personal, it is a foundation for unity. Whether within a family or a nation, unity is born from understanding. From listening, truly listening, from valuing not just what aligns with our own experience, but what broadens it. That is how we grow, that is how we evolve, not by isolating what is different, but by embracing it as part of a shared journey. I have always felt that identity is not just inherited, it is built, and each generation has a chance to shape and reaffirm it. We are living in a time where identity is being explored in new ways, where people are discovering new spaces to belong, new roles to play. And in this exploration, unity becomes all the more essential. It tells us that we do not have to be the same to walk together. We do not have to agree on everything to respect one another. Unity does not eliminate uniqueness, it celebrates it. It draws us closer because it reminds us that our destinies are linked, not by chance but by choice. And when we choose unity, we dissolve the walls of misunderstanding and build pathways of connection. Images come to mind: houses built of different materials but sharing the same foundation, voices singing in different tones but contributing to the same song. That is how identity and unity are meant to coexist, distinct, yet harmonious, side by side, each enriching the other. I think often about the strength that lies in that kind of togetherness. It is the kind of strength that withstands storms, that helps people rise after setbacks, that gives meaning to success because it is shared. Without unity, identity is incomplete. Without identity, unity is rootless. But together, they form a bridge across time, a link between ancestors and heirs, between past and future. There is unity in kindness, in acknowledging the humanity of others, in standing up not only for what serves us, but also for what protects us all. There is unity in recognizing that the world is not just a collection of separate lives, but a shared space where each person's actions ripple into another's experience. There are times when our differences can feel overwhelming, when it seems easier to withdraw behind the safety of what is familiar. But history tells us that the greatest progress happens when we reach across boundaries, when identity becomes an invitation and not an excuse, when unity is not forced but chosen every day in small ways. Perhaps unity starts simply in a smile, in a word of understanding, in the decision to listen even when it is difficult. Perhaps it grows in the realization that we do not need to lose ourselves in order to welcome someone else. Identity and unity do not weaken one another, they refine each other. They remind us that being who we are does not mean diminishing another. In fact, the opposite is true. The more secure we are in our identity, the more generous we become toward others. Unity asks us to stand together when it matters most, to find common ground even when our paths are different, to recognize that our humanity outweighs our disagreements. It calls us to build societies where no one is invisible, where each voice has value, where differences are not threats but assets, keys to empathy, creativity, and understanding. The future is asking something of us, asking us to rethink what it means to belong, not to a single group or place, but to one another. To build identities that are open and unity that is thoughtful, to confront the challenges of our time not alone, but alongside one another, aware that what affects one affects all. In this pursuit, young people have an extraordinary role to play. You bring fresh eyes, fresh energy, fresh belief in what is possible. You see beyond labels and language. You understand that identity can be fluid, and that unity can be built even in the shadow of difference. You are not waiting for permission to shape the world, you are already doing it, and in that act you remind us of what unity and identity can be when embraced with hope and heart. There will always be those who question if unity is realistic in a world so diverse, if identity can remain strong in the face of change. But look closer. Every moment of true progress in history was born from people who believed that unity is not the erasure of difference, but the harmony of it, that identity is not a flag carried in isolation, but a thread woven into the tapestry of something beautiful and lasting. The strength of a community, a country, a continent, and indeed, of humanity lies not in its uniformity, but in its unity. The kind of unity that honors the past while building a future. The kind that values every culture, every voice, every person not because of how they are the same, but for how they enrich the whole. To know who you are is powerful. To stand alongside others who know who they are is extraordinary. Let us carry both, the pride of identity and the promise of unity, a promise that echoes into tomorrow, built not just with words, but with respect, courage, and grace.